He'd arrived before fear did, which meant something had gone wrong with the Academy's threat assessment protocols. Vorkax Thnel watched the reading from his station on the observation deck, optical crystals focusing down on the live fire chamber 400 meters below. 61 cadets filed in, 17 species, different body plans, different combat histories, different evolutionary pressure points. All of them here to pass Class 9 qualification. All of them here to survive or fail trying. One of them was dragging furniture. Vorkax's left optical crystal cracked. Just a hairline, 0.3 millimeters. He felt it fracture the way humans feel a headache, not sharp but present. A small warning that something was wrong before his mind could process what. The human, his junior officer said. Thesix, Valurian like him, mercury skin rippling with uncertainty. She's carrying a stool. Furniture is not a tactical implement, Vorkax said, clinical, data forward, the words that kept him steady when other officers panicked. Statistical noise, log it and move on. But he didn't move on. She set up the stool in the corner of the staging area. 3 aluminum legs, visible scuff marks from repeated folding. Canvas seat, oxidized copper color with a corner tier held together by duct tape. She sat down, pulled a rifle from her back and began adjusting something on its upper rail. The rifle was flagged in her file as obsolete by 12,000 years. Kinetic projectile weapon, bolt action. Wooden furniture, actual wood grain, not composite, not synthetic. Vorkax had reviewed her combat history before the trial. 147,000 hours of kinetic weapons training. No modern systems, no energy weapons, no multi-limb strike capacity. She was designated Zara Okonkwo, Earth origin, Class 12 Deathworld survivor. 157 centimeters tall, muscle density below the 22nd percentile. Reaction speed 0.31 seconds, slow enough that a Thraxi cadet could land 4 strikes before she processed the first one. 3 Kithtak cadets pointed at her folding stool. Their antennae wove patterns in the air. Pheromone mockery. The chemical language of creatures who hunted in packs, who understood threat through coordinated motion and speed. Thesix's mercury skin stopped rippling. She's not preparing. Preparation is beginning, Vorkax said. She is adjusting her weapon mechanism. But even as he said it, he knew the cadets below understood something he didn't. They were watching her the way prey animals watch apex predators at the edge of the water hole, with the specific alertness of creatures who had learned to recognize incomprehensibility as danger. Zara pulled a cloth from a bag hanging off the stool's crossbar. Cotton beige weathered. She began wiping the rifle's wooden furniture with careful, deliberate motions. Click. Release. She cycled the bolt with her thumb. Click, release, check the mechanism, do it again. The trial begins in 9 seconds, Thesix whispered. Vorkax did not respond. He zoomed the optical feed on her face. No stress markers, no elevated cortisol response visible in skin tone. Her breathing was steady. Her grip on the cloth was loose. She looked like she was doing housework, like she was wiping a counter in her dwelling, like she was folding laundry before rest period. Like she was not about to enter a gauntlet designed to kill. Class 9 qualification. Cycle 47. 43 cadets had failed before today. 8 never walked again. 2 were shipped home in vacuum-sealed containers. The Academy called it performance filtering. Vorkax called it what it was, legalized attrition. A test that sorted the survivors from the bodies. A trial run by a tactical AI operating at 99.97% accuracy across 12,000 prior simulations. And this human had brought a folding stool. The moisture ruins the wood grain, she said. First words in 11 days of training. Flat affect, no urgency. You wouldn't understand. She was speaking to no one. No other cadets stood near her. Vorkax was watching from the observation deck, 400 meters above and behind reinforced glass. Thesix was beside him, mercury skin flickering with confusion. But Zara had said it like she was answering a question someone had asked. Vorkax pulled up her intake file. Planet of origin listed as Earth. Class 12 Deathworld. Gravitational stress 1.4 times galactic standard. Atmospheric composition variable. Predator saturation density 340% galactic median. Last line of the form. Survival curriculum includes furniture portability optimization. His optical crystal cracked further. Now the fracture ran from the edge toward center. 0.8 millimeters. Integrated weapon systems activated in the chamber below. The Thraxi cadets opened fire first, 4-armed combat specialists, echolocation-based targeting, strike speed that human sensory organs couldn't follow. They opened their mouths. The clicks came through the audio feed at 94 decibels, not language, sonar. Biology as technology. 60,000 years of evolutionary pressure turned into a targeting system better than anything designed by conscious intention. They moved with predator urgency. Maliri cadets extended spinal-mounted directed energy carbines. Their bodies were built for harmonic pulse generation, for sonic frequency combat. They began firing, and the air in the chamber turned to plasma haze. The Kithtak synchronized their pheromone networks, 6 antennae working in lattice formation. Their collective efficiency boost registered at 22% on Vorkax's sensors. They moved like one organism with 6 bodies. Pack hunters, the chemical language of coordinated killing. 60 cadets engaged in 11 seconds. Zara remained seated. Her heart rate, according to biometric telemetry, peaked at 88 beats per minute. 15 seconds, Thesix said. She hasn't fired. Vorkax did not answer. He was reading her weapon system logs. She had cycled the bolt 6 more times, 6 complete mechanical checks, each one taking 0.3 seconds. She had not raised the rifle, had not taken a firing stance, had not done anything except sit on a folding stool with visible duct tape patches and wipe wood grain with a cloth. Then she stood, movement economical, no wasted motion, no combat crouch, just rising from sitting position the way a civilian rose from a meal to clear dishes. She walked to the firing line without cover, without defensive positioning, without any of the tactical geometry the other 60 cadets were using. She raised the rifle to her shoulder, cheek rested against wooden stock. Her breathing slowed, 14 breaths per minute, then 12, then 6. Oxygen saturation held at 98% according to the biometric overlay. She fired. A drone at 744 meters exploded. Vorkax watched the trajectory analysis populate in real time on his console. Perfect aim, perfect lead calculation, 0 atmosphere drift compensation error. She cycled the bolt, 8 millimeters of mechanical precision, the kind of action that had been standard before humans discovered energy weapons, the kind of action that should have been obsolete. She fired again. Drone at 801 meters exploded, over 800 meters away. The kind of distance where most cadets switched to ranged thermal imaging. She was using iron sights. She was doing mathematics in her head and translating that into finger pressure on a trigger. 8 shots, 11 seconds, 8 kills, 0 misses. Then she walked back to the folding stool and sat down. Thesix's mercury skin stopped moving entirely. All ripple, all flux of emotion and stress response just froze. The skin stayed silver gray and still like polished metal, like something that had stopped being alive for a moment. "What?" he said. Vorkax did not answer. He was reading the Phase 1 final telemetry. 60 cadets had engaged, 32 drone targets eliminated, 28 drones remained, 17 cadets suppressed behind cover, ammunition running low, thermal signatures registering elevated stress. The Thraxi cadet in position 7A had scored 8 hits, all 4 arms cycling maximum rate fire. The Kithtak pack had missed twice and was regrouping its pheromone lattice. And the human had fired 8 shots from standing position and returned to sitting. Zara pulled the cloth from her bag again and resumed wiping the rifle's wooden furniture. Click, release, click, release. Her breathing stayed at 6 breaths per minute. Her heart rate remained at baseline. She looked like she was doing housework. The Thraxi cadet nearest her, position 4C, 4-armed echolocation specialist with pre-trial stress markers registering at 174 beats per minute, stopped clicking, stopped moving, stopped everything except staring at her. Vorkax saw it on the telemetry feed. Thraxi's pheromone emissions shifted. It was not language he understood, not data his sensors could decode, but he recognized the pattern of it, recognition of something too incomprehensible to categorize, recognition of a threat that did not follow threat protocols. "Move to Phase 2, Vorkax said to the tactical systems. His voice sounded cracked, damaged, like something fractured had made it all the way into speech. Chamber processors activated. Class 11 storm world simulation. 400 kilometers per hour winds, particulate carbon at 80 degrees Celsius, atmospheric pressure equivalent to planetary crush depth, the floor heating to 65 degrees Celsius, temperature hot enough to soften mercury-based skin, hot enough to crack Maliri spinal structures, hot enough to trigger panic responses in every biological system that had evolved survival instincts in gentler climates. 54 cadets retreated to environmental shelters within 30 seconds. 7 did not make it. 1 Kithtak collapsed at 47 seconds. Its antennae went black. Thermal necrosis. The sensory organs that had evolved to detect pheromone patterns were burning from the inside. The chemical communication system that made it pack-lethal became tissue damage. Vorkax watched its heart rate spike to 340% of baseline cortisol levels. Zara stayed on her stool. She did not run, did not crouch, did not seek shelter. She pulled a small metal cylinder from her canvas bag. Database identified it as canteen. She unscrewed the cap, drank. Vorkax pulled the thermal reading. Water inside the canister registered at 22 degrees Celsius. It should have boiled 18 minutes ago. How, Thesix said, not a question, just a word. A sound that came out because his mind needed to make noise in response to something his education could not process. Vorkax watched her fold the stool in a single smooth motion. Legs collapsed into each other. Canvas seat rotated flat. She slung it across her back like luggage, like she was going to market, like the chamber around her was not a simulation of Class 11 planetary hell. She walked toward the environmental shelter. Not ran, walked. Particulate carbon should have reduced her lung function to 34% within 90 seconds. Her biometrics showed 97%. Her gait remained steady. Her breathing remained slow. She carried the folded stool the way a civilian carried groceries home from a market on a cool day. Vorkax's optical crystal fractured further. Now the craze ran across 40% of the surface. 2 more cadets failed to reach shelter. Their bodies went rigid as thermal shock overwhelmed their cooling systems. Vorkax had seen this before. Class 11 test always took casualties. The heat was not forgiving. The heat was not calibrated for mercy. The heat was calibrated for attrition. But she walked through it like it was a mild afternoon. The briefing, Vorkax said to Thesix. Pull her briefing file, prior training, prior exposure. Thesix's mercury skin rippled back to life. Fear ripples, confusion ripples. He pulled the file, read it. Looked at Vorkax with eyes that had stopped understanding. 147,000 hours of kinetic weapons training, Thesix said. 17 years of Death World survival education. Combat scores all in the acceptable range. Nothing exceptional. Nothing that explains this. Vorkax did not respond. He was watching the live feed from the chamber. Zara reached the environmental shelter and stepped inside. The door sealed behind her. The thermal sensors showed her core temperature rising only slightly. Her breathing remained at 6 breaths per minute. She had walked through 80 degrees Celsius particulate carbon, like someone walking through rain she had expected. Phase 3, he said. Prepare the chamber, full Class 7 Predator release, 4 units. The tactical systems acknowledged the command. Vorkax felt something twist inside his body. Something that had been built over 40 years of military service, built from institutional confidence and data-driven certainty, felt it twist and shear. Class 7 Predators were designed to kill. Designed by evolutionary pressure across 1,000 generations. Each one weighed 940 kilograms, armored muscle with serrated teeth and chlorate patterns that could shatter Thraxi carapace. Bite force measured at 12,000 psi, the kind of predator that had been on top of every food chain it inhabited until humans invented firearms. The kind of predator that killed through speed, mass, and biological advantage. 4 of them, released into a confined chamber with 17 cadets, who had already shown elevated stress responses. Vorkax was going to watch the Academy's classification system break a human being into component parts. That was what he thought. That was what every precedent predicted. He did not think about the folding stool, did not think about the way she had walked through 80-degree heat like it was Tuesday morning, did not think about the fact that she had brought one piece of furniture to the most heavily weaponized chamber in the galaxy. And in the minutes to come, something in the Academy's ability to predict and categorize threat was going to stop working. But his optical crystals kept cracking, and somewhere in the pattern of those cracks, he already knew. Begin Phase 3, he said. The chamber's atmospheric processors screamed to life. 400 kilometers per hour winds materialized in the ring below. Particulate carbon hung in the air like a living thing, like the chamber had become a creature made of heat and motion. 80 degrees Celsius. The temperature where biology stopped being choice and became survival reflex. 17 cadets remained in the central ring. Vorkax watched from the observation deck. His optical crystals were fracturing faster now. The stress del was accelerating, 0.3 millimeters per minute. At this rate, his left crystal would be completely compromised in 6 minutes. His center crystal would follow. He would need replacement within the week. He did not stop watching. Zara pulled the folding stool from her back. Did not sprint, did not crouch, did not do any of the things the Academy's threat assessment protocols predicted humans would do when faced with environmental hell. She unfolded it, 3 aluminum legs, canvas seat. She sat down. Thesix made a sound. Not language, just sound. The mercury skin had gone completely still again, which meant the junior officer's mind had stopped processing. 16 cadets seeking shelter, the tactical AI reported. Cool voice. Detached. The voice of something that had been programmed to observe but not feel. One Kithtak showing signs of thermal necrosis, antennae blackening at accelerated rate, estimated collapse in 47 seconds. The Kithtak was screaming, not sound. Pheromone screams, chemical language of absolute panic. The sensory organs that made it pack lethal were cooking from the inside. The collective efficiency boost that had made it a threat was becoming trauma. Zara sat on her stool and drank from her canteen. 22 degrees Celsius. Still, the water had not boiled, had not even warmed. Vorkax checked the canister specifications 3 times. Aluminum construction, standard insulation, nothing thermal rated, nothing capable of maintaining 22-degree water in 80-degree particulate carbon. But the reading was right there on his sensors. She was not surviving the trial, she was making it look boring. That was the moment Vorkax understood. Not with data, not with optical sensors, but with the part of him that was still animal, still predator, still something that had learned to recognize threat by reading things no instrument could measure. She was reading the chamber like other beings read air, like other beings read gravity. The heat was not a trial to her. It was weather. It was Tuesday. It was something that happened on her planet every single day, and she had learned to carry water cold through it like it was normal, like it was expected, like the rest of the galaxy had simply never learned the basics. The Kithtak collapsed at 47 seconds. Its body went rigid. Its antennae stopped moving. Its heart rate spiked to 340% baseline cortisol. It was still breathing, still alive, but the part of it that was coordination and pack logic had burned away. 17 cadets had entered Phase 3. One was already gone. Zara stood, folded the stool in one smooth motion, walked toward the environmental shelter, not ran, did not even increase her pace. Walked the way a civilian walked through a market. The way something that had never learned to panic walked through danger. Her lungs should have been at 34% function. Her biometrics showed 97%. She crossed the threshold into shelter at 49 seconds. The door sealed behind her. Vorkax watched her core temperature register on the biometric display. It had risen only 2.1 degrees Celsius. 2.1. Pause Phase 3, Vorkax said. His voice did not sound like his own. Prepare Phase 4, full Class 7 Predator release, 4 units. The tactical systems confirmed the order. The chamber processors began cycling. Environmental simulation fading. Predator release chambers opening 400 meters below the observation deck. Class 7, the apex of the apex. The kind of biology that had hunted humans on their own planet, had killed humans by the thousands before humans invented firearms. 940 kilograms each. Serrated teeth. Chlorate patterns that could shatter Thraxi carapace. Bite force at 12,000 psi. The kind of predator that did not have weakness. That had been built by evolutionary pressure to kill anything soft-shelled in its environment. 4 of them released into a chamber with 17 cadets who had already shown elevated stress responses. 1 Kithtak was down. 1 Maliri had spinal damage. 7 others had failed to reach shelter during Phase 2. 10 cadets remained combat-capable. 10 cadets against 4 Class 7 apex predators in an enclosed space with no shelter, no cover, no mercy. Thesix's mercury skin rippled, fear ripples. The kind that came before acceptance, before the mind simply shut down. She won't survive this, Thesix said. Vorkax did not answer. He was watching the environmental simulation fade, the heat receding, the particulate carbon clearing, the chamber returning to standard atmospheric pressure, standard temperature, the kind of environment where human biology was weak and Class 7 apex predators could run at full speed. The predators emerged from their release chambers. 4 of them, 800 kilograms of apex biology, moving with the specific grace of creatures that had never learned to doubt themselves. They did not roar, did not shriek. They simply moved into the central ring and began hunting with the efficiency of things that had been designed by a billion years of success. The Thraxi cadets opened fire immediately, all 4 arms cycling. Echolocation clicks at 94 decibels filling the chamber. The Maliri synchronized their spinal weapons, harmonic pulse generation, sonic frequency combat designed to disrupt nervous systems. The remaining Kithtak tried to form defensive perimeter, but their pack efficiency was compromised. Their antennae had learned to fear. The Class 7 predators moved through them like they were water. First predator, designation 7A, moved at 60 kilometers per hour. 2-meter tail of segmented bone. Bite force at 12,000 psi. It caught a Thraxi cadet by the upper carapace and threw him across the chamber. The impact was visible even from 400 meters away. The kind of impact that broke things. 17 cadets, 4 predators. The equation was writing itself across the chamber in blood and motion, and the sound of biological systems being overwhelmed. That was when Zara unfolded her stool again. She had not run, had not hidden, had simply waited in the environmental shelter while the heat faded and the predators emerged. Now she pulled the stool from her back, 3 aluminum legs, canvas seat, duct tape patch visible even from the observation deck, and unfolded it. Placed it on the chamber floor. Sat down, crossed her legs. There was silence on the observation deck. Actual physical silence. The kind where sound stopped moving. The kind where Thesix's mercury skin froze completely. The kind where Vorkax's remaining optical crystals did not fracture but simply went white. Class 7A noticed her. The predator was 3 meters from the nearest Thraxi cadet. 2 meters of segmented tail. Teeth designed to shear through armored biology. Evolution's perfect killing machine. It turned away from the combat, turned away from the prey that was actively trying to hurt it, turned toward the 157-centimeter human sitting comfortably on a folding stool. The predator approached. 8 meters, the distance closed in 4 seconds. Class 7 biology moving at hunting speed. The kind of movement that human bodies could not process. The kind of movement that should have been the last thing Zara saw. 7 meters, the predator's respiratory rate elevated, not from exertion, from the hunting scent of something small and soft and prey-shaped. The kind of smell that had been triggering apex predator behavior for 1 billion years. 6 meters, Vorkax saw the predator's tail rise, not to strike, to stabilize. The predator was shifting into kill-angle approach. 5 meters, Zara looked at it, did not scream, did not raise the rifle, did not do any of the things that any biological system with survival instinct should have been doing. She turned her head, made direct eye contact with 800 kilograms of apex biology, and said one word. Downed. 5 letters, 1 syllable. The kind of word a human used to command dogs, used to tell household animals to obey, used to establish hierarchy in pack structures that were built on dominance and submission. The Class 7 predator stopped. 2 meters from the stool, 2 meters from the prey. The tail, 2 meters of segmented bone that could shatter Thraxi carapace in a single strike, went rigid. Not tense. Rigid. The kind of rigid that came before submission. The kind of rigid that came when a creature's entire evolutionary history suddenly reorganized itself around the understanding that it was not, in fact, the apex of this particular food chain. It took 2 steps backward. Then it lay down on the heated floor like a trained animal, like something that had accepted its new position in hierarchy, like something that had learned what sit means in a language it had never heard before. The other 3 Class 7 predators stopped moving, stopped hunting, kept their distance at 22 meters, heads low, tails tucked. They were avoiding her. 940-kilogram apex predators, avoiding 157 centimeters of human in a canvas camp stool. The chamber went silent, not peaceful silence, not the silence of resolution, the silence of a system that had stopped working, the silence of threat assessment protocols meeting a data point they could not process, the silence of institutional certainty breaking like optical crystal under stress. The tactical AI's voice came through the observation deck speakers. Cool, detached, and wrong. Reclassification complete. Tier 1 environmental catalyst. No unescorted training exercises with human cadets without prior classification. The flag appeared on every observation console within 14 seconds. Not red for danger, not green for safe. Yellow, perplexed yellow. The color of a system that no longer understood what it was looking at. Zara did not move. She sat on the folding stool, legs crossed, rifle resting across her knees like a walking stick. The predator lay on the heated floor 2 meters away, completely still. The other 3 kept their distance. The 17 cadets in the chamber stared at the woman who had just inverted every assumption the Academy had built across 12,000 prior simulations. Phase 4 ended. Vorkax pulled biometric telemetry from the engagement. His hands were shaking. He had not known his hands could shake like this. He had been training for 40 years to read data and stay detached, to stay clinical, to stay certain. He read the data anyway. Her heart rate during the 11-second engagement with the predator had peaked at 88 beats per minute. The Thraxi cadets, by comparison, had averaged 174 BPM during Phase 1. The Kith-Tac pheromone cortisol levels during the thermal backwash had registered at 340% of baseline. She had not been calm. She had simply never considered the alternative. That was the moment something in Vorkax broke. Not his crystals, not his training, but something older, something that all the data in the galaxy could not fix. The understanding that the Academy had just spent 90 minutes learning what his species had not been built to understand. What it meant to come from a planet that wanted you dead. Thesic's filed separation papers the same week. Resignation reason listed as irreconcilable biological hierarchy collapse. He did not elaborate, did not need to. The Academy understood. Every instructor who watched the footage understood. Every cadet who was supposed to be trained in threat assessment protocol understood. The system had broken, not from violence, not from combat, from someone who had brought furniture to a killing chamber and refused to participate in panic. Class 9 qualification chamber was decommissioned within 3 months. Too many cadets requested transfers after watching the footage. Too many instructors could not look at their threat assessment protocols without thinking about a woman sitting on a folding stool while apex predators learned submission. The Academy issued revised protocols. No unescorted human training exercises without Tier 1 observer clearance. Tactical AI underwent 6-month recalibration. Never regained 99.97% accuracy. Settled at 96.3% with a permanent yellow flag category labeled Environmental Catalyst Entities. 11 instructors resigned total. Vorkax was not one of them. He stayed, watched the footage over and over, reviewed her intake forms looking for explanation. Planet of origin, Earth. Class 12, Death World. Gravitational stress 1.4 times standard. Atmospheric composition variable. Predator saturation density 340% galactic median. Last line added by intake officer as joke. Survival curriculum includes furniture portability optimization. Not a joke. Never a joke. 6 months post-incident. Vorkax walked the memorial corridor of Orbital Training Facility Gladius. His optical crystals had been replaced twice since cycle 47. New ones still fractured every time he reviewed the footage. New ones still went white when he reached the specific moment. The moment when biological certainty stopped working. At the end of the corridor, behind reinforced glass, sat the folding stool. The light in the display case was set to 3200 Kelvin. Warm, amber, almost kind. It caught the frayed edge of the canvas seat, caught the scuff marks on the aluminum legs, caught the small tear in the corner where a piece of duct tape held the fabric together like a wound that refused to close. The plaque beneath read, Class of Survival Catalyst, Human Extraction ZARA OKO and KWO Cycle 47. Deployed during Class 9 qualification. 0 combat modifications. 0 tactical enhancements. 1 folding stool. Beneath that, a recording of her voice from the Phase 2 thermal backwash. 4 words, flat affect, no urgency. The moisture ruins the wood grain. You wouldn't understand. Vorkax stood in front of the display case. His new optical crystals did not fracture this time. They simply held steady, held the image of the stool. Held the understanding that somewhere in the galaxy there was a planet that had built her, that had taught her to treat catastrophe as weather, that had made comfort into a survival tool more powerful than any weapon the Academy possessed. He stopped trying to categorize what that meant. He simply stood there in the amber light and let the unknowing be enough. Somewhere in the galaxy there is a planet that built her. He has stopped trying to categorize what that means.